I'm a Mantrista, which means that I handle the creation of my reality mainly with mantras and visualizations. I'm a trained remote viewer. I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, telepath, trained in interspecies communication, and more. Very oriented towards business since I had my first business card was when I was 14. And I like the challenge. It's a big challenge today. But let's go into what it is that we can offer that can make a difference for you. I was looking at, of course, X, which is X-Twitter. And there's an awful lot of revelations and whistleblowers. And then you have to wonder, are they saying the truth? Are they not saying the truth? Excuse me, I have my purification music downstairs, and I'm not going to go down to turn it off unless it's really distressing to someone here or to most of you. What I have on is the Agni, which is musical notes and images and sounds that reduce the fire element. There are musical notes that reduce fire. Everybody's too angry, too much fire. Everybody's too hot, personality-wise and physically. And that Mantrista music video is unbelievable in reducing it. I was away for several days in a place that doesn't purify. And I had it on almost 24/7. And when I went to use my little pyramid to purify, I thought I would lose it. I thought that it would pick up a spirit and it would crack and it would cost me $107 to purify the space. It didn't, which means that several days of that music really makes a difference. Very important for where your employees are, but let's get back on track. What is it that I want to talk to you about today that can help make your business life easier? Well, you do need to have your instincts very operational. What are instincts? Psychic abilities, usually connected to the heart chakra. And there is a name for what it usually is, which is claircognizance, which is an instant knowing of something, whether that it's coming or you're looking at a situation and you're like, oh, I know what's going on. That's being claircognizant. You need for your instincts to be totally operational today. I think people have forgotten, and I think I have forgotten to say it. We are in a paradigm collapse, and a new paradigm is being formed. So we have major players that understand the old paradigm, business consultants, universities, religions, but that's collapsing in the other dimensions. And has been known for centuries that it was going to collapse. And the new paradigm is it's not fully accepted. I'm not sure that it's fully in place. I think that it is. What's the old paradigm? Hierarchy, triangular shape, big guy at the top, everybody else at the bottom. Everybody at the bottom looks to the guy at the top, supports the guy at the top, and overlooks what the guy at the top does. That's not great. They're the boss. No. That was a paradigm for 2,000 years. But that's collapsed. And the new paradigm is community and circular. So we kind of have lost our authority figures, I just realized right now, because the triangular shape, you had all your authorities up here and they were writing books and articles and they were talking. You're at the bottom, you're in receive mode. You don't believe those people anymore. So now what are you going to do? Well, you can go to pets, which is what I do. But how about going inside of yourself, your heart chakra, your instincts, and how about developing your psychic abilities, which is what I'm trying to get you to understand that you need so that I can charge you all this money for these classes I'm setting up? No, all of what we've done up to now is free. And generally everything that I do is free. My income comes from business clients that decide they want me to work for their company, and a little bit from products. By the way, we have our latest product, which is the Tibetan flags, but they're the Mantrista mantra flags. And this particular one was designed for sleep, but I am going to design one that will be for business, where you have your employees. And I'm not going to make myself be systematic in this conversation today. Why do Tibetan prayer flags work, and why will the Mantrista mantra flags work? It's because of transference of energies. As the flags are moving, and right there where they're at, they don't move. They need to be hung loosely. And where there's some movement of air, like if you open and close the door, the air will move them. Because that transfers to your environment what's on the flag, which in this case is the Egyptian cross, the Ankh you're seeing right behind me. What's the difference? Protection of the head. That's why all the kids wear hoodies. They're trying to protect their heads. Sometimes they even go to sleep with them. Why? They're trying to protect their heads because they're being invaded, mainly in the head area. So that cross is great for sleeping because we're mainly invaded at night. And then we have the mantra to have faith. I trust, I trust, I trust. But these are in Spanish. I have to do them in English, but I wanted to check them out first. And then the mantra for being protected during your sleep, etc. Transference of energy. So we're going to go back now a teeny weeny bit. Your environment is really important. What yuckiness are you requiring that your employees work under? Remembering that I said it last week, and I'm saying it a lot. In my Ask Frances About Your Business, which is a free chat, right now it's only in Spanish. What I found, if I had to say one particular thing that is blocking people from prosperity in business, it's the conditions of the environment of where they do business. And maybe I said it last week, I will repeat it. We got a testimonial from somebody who asked about her business. She had a store. And I told her that it felt like death in there and it felt old. And she really needed to do something, move stuff, whatever. So she contacted me that they had a store that sold orthopedic shoes, I think. I'm not sure. And they don't have any money. They're in Argentina. There's no money in Argentina. Maybe the real wealthy people, I don't know, but regular people, no movement of money. So what she did was she bought paint, and she and her husband painted everything new. They moved all the furniture around. She says that there's more light there, that there's just more light without opening windows or shades, and that it's warmer. They don't have to put on the heat as much. Well, when there's spirits, literally there's a change in temperature. So she was able to kick out spirits simply by moving things around and by painting. And she says people can now see them and they're doing more business. Something that's simple. Most of the stuff that I teach is really very, very simple. My fees are high, but you can learn a lot of the stuff here with me. And most of it is not going to cost you any money. So, okay, transference of energy. Mantrista mantra flags. Whenever we get them in English, we will present them and you can go ahead. They're inexpensive. And the issue is transference of protection, of mantras, of concepts to your spaces. What's in your spaces now? Where your employees are working or where you work? Ho-hum, you're bored? John, are we going to be able to pay the rent at the beginning of the month? Are we going to meet payroll? That stuff gets recycled in the air, and then that's what your mind feeds off of. So of course you're going to get nervous about whether you're going to be able to meet payroll. But you're just running into your own thoughts that you never purified. Purification of your spaces. There are some interviews going on in the last 2 weeks, and oh, please, God, help me with my intention to be able to speak openly. I can't do that yet. But I was watching, and I was like, okay, that he said is not true, because his mouth, the energy outside his mouth, and what was coming out of his mouth was black. But then he kind of switched into a second thing, which was all part of the package, and then it became blue. So I went, okay, half of what he's saying is a total lie. And I was doubting myself because I said, the person interviewing him is pretty savvy. I hope he's not lying through the whole thing, because that can kind of reflect on the person interviewing. But then when he went into the second thing, it was blue. So half of what this person is saying is true and half is a lie. How do you know which half? How do you know it's not all a lie? Well, if you make it your business to access what God gave you, which is a third eye that can see everything, past, present, future. That's what Carl Jung talked about. You would be able to see that and you'd go, okay, this kind of makes sense. Now they're trying to make it worse than what it really is, and they lied, but I can see the lie, so we still have a bad situation. You will be able to know what's going on. And being it that we're in the collapse of a paradigm, you need to know, because there's not going to be any authority that you're going to trust. Why? Because they don't have a grip on things, and because the spirits have made it their full-time job for us not to trust anybody, including ourselves. At the end of this god-awful time we're in, we are not going to trust ourselves. They're making it their business that we not trust anybody and that we not trust ourselves. And by the way, that's part of what disinformation is about, to confuse people. Is it true? Is it not true? What do I do? So then somebody gives you instructions and you go, well, at least he sounds like he knows what he's doing. I'm going to go ahead and do this, because other than that, I'm totally lost. No, you're not lost. Because you see, you all have the capacity to do what it is that I do. Now, my training was very severe, and you don't have to have that severe training, because we have entered the age of Aquarius. So all these abilities are supposed to not pop up out of nowhere, but they're going to kind of be released and expanded. Because where our superpowers are, which is in our third eye, in a gland that has not been discovered by scientists yet. It's called the mimosa gland. We discovered it in one of our classes on the third eye. That is now allowed to be open. And in there are the superpowers. So we were all going to have access to our superpowers. But if nobody tells you that, then you run around confused when you can see stuff that normally you cannot see. So I think you're going to have to develop your psychic abilities. If not, you're going to be totally insecure, and you're going to be totally relying on your mate, your boss, the media that you decide you're going to follow, and they may not have all the information that you need. You need to be able to rely on you. Age of Aquarius, superpowers, expanded psychic abilities, expanded power to the individual. But what good is power if you don't know where you came from, where you're at, where you're going, what's happening, or what is going on with this thing they presented to you, and it's new? You don't have any reference. You probably don't even have somebody to call to find out if it's okay. You are supposed to be looking inside of you to what the Greek philosophers called intelligence of the heart, which is centered in your heart chakra, where there are no filters. Your heart chakra, the name of it means where there's no clashing. Every other chakra you have a clashing of right, left, male, female, light, dark. Not in the heart chakra. Total clarity. But your consciousness needs to be there. It can't be up here trying to figure things out. You got to let go and drop down into the heart center. Not so that you can love. That's great. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about you keeping yourself safe. You keep knowing what's a good decision, what's a bad decision. We're talking about you looking at an interview that's going to shake the world and going, you know what? Not all of that is true. I wonder who's setting him up. I wonder who's paying him. I wonder who's setting him up. You honestly need to understand that you are a God. And now you have permission to have your godlike abilities and your superpowers, to have them come up and available to you without having to fight tooth and nail or without having to go through what it is that I and other children went through. In my program alone, supposedly there were 10,000 kids. I have no way of knowing. And there were several programs. I have no way of knowing. But before you had to fight to get those abilities, today you don't. But you do have to be ready to receive. I have the power of induction, superpower. Scientists in the military said it. You're in my presence, and your psychic abilities augment. Some of you may resent that. Well, what is she doing? Give it up. Come on. If you can't tell by looking at me that I'm legitimately trying to share knowledge for you to be able to deal with your life better, I can't help you. Should there be a lack of trust of everybody to a certain extent, and certainly with me because of my background? Yes. But you see, if your instincts are operational, then you will know where it is that you could get yourself into trouble. With me, with anybody. The spirit world is more active than ever because we basically are at the finish line and they don't want us to cross the finish line. And one of the ways you can take down people in this country is by hitting them behind the knees with their bank accounts and their businesses. Because isn't that the reason why we exist in the United States? Our bank account and our business? Shouldn't be, but it is. So you really need to be able to honor abilities that you were born with, that God gave you, and that apparently whoever it is that makes the decision, they've opened up the floodgates so that you can have access to all of this stuff. Why can't you see the color of the energy that is coming out of the mouth of somebody who's speaking? The first time I saw that having to do with business, not in like a private whatever, I was at a code enforcement meeting in Coral Gables. And I was trying to, the building that I bought the penthouse in, fourth floor, not the penthouse of a multi-million-dollar building, but it was a penthouse. So I had the roof. They forgot to waterproof it. So when it rained, the water would flood into my apartment. The first time it happened, I was like, but this cannot be happening. This doesn't make any sense. It's not even raining that hard. The entire roof, the water it collected because it didn't rain when it, okay. So I go to the code enforcement meeting and it's not my time to stand up and say, please make the contractor take care of this now. Not my time. So I'm watching other people. And this man gets up and he's being challenged by the code enforcement people. And he looked like a really nice man. And he was sitting in front of me when we were all waiting for our turns. And they ask him questions. He starts to speak really nice, sweet, and like, why are you guys doing this to me? He's saying to the code enforcement people, black. I went, oh my God, the guy's lying. He was so nice, so sweet. He looked like such a victim of the city. No. I went, oh my God, he's lying. You can see that. You have every ability that I have. And if you get frightened enough, you're going to access some of it. But why wait until you're frightened? Develop it. Listen to our classes. Look at our videos. That's one of the reasons why our chats, which we have only in English now because we don't have any Anglos that can trust me enough to follow me, they're long. But all the time that you're there, the power of induction that I have is washing over you and your abilities go up. And I always tell the story about friends of mine in the past that would say, I haven't had dinner with you for a while. I haven't seen you. I can't see anything. We need to go to dinner. Well, what's that got to do with it? Their psychic abilities went down because they hadn't had contact with. You don't lose what you gain when you're with me. It is a building up process, but these people contended that just being with me an extra time for dinner, they would go back up again. I suspect they were super busy with other things. It wasn't just not seeing me that caused their abilities to go down. So you need to quickly figure out how to augment your psychic abilities. Contact with nature. Don't ever again go on vacation to places like Paris, cosmopolitan areas where you can do great shopping. No, You want to invest in your bank account? Go to the beach. Go out on a boat. Why do you think all those rich people run around boating? Do you think it's just because they can afford boating? I'm sure that's part of it. But I think that they recognize later on, oh my God, my head is clear. Well, your head is more clear. I'm going to make better decisions. Your spirit body is your astral emotional body. And when you're on a boat in water, that is very soothing to your emotional energy body. So it's very good because it's emotions that mess us up. That is what can distort what it is that we're thinking, our thought process, our decision-making process. Disinformation is the order of the day. I know too much about disinformation. I was maybe too close to it for too many years. It's disgusting. This is what disinformation is. It's a ton of information that's totally accurate. Totally. Well, but that's true. I know that's true. So this is what he says, and I know this is true. So no, disinformation is totally true information, but there's a piece of it that's not. So you're, and there's a piece of it. So you go, and you're off in that direction, and 95% of the information was accurate. How did you end up over there? Well, because it was disinformation. They hook you with the accuracy, and then they shift you on into a direction you wouldn't have gone on, and you trust because, my goodness, practically everything they said was true. Disinformation. Well, how do you know what of it is true or not? Well, you can be on the Googling all day long, but a lot of the stuff is not up there yet. Or you can have good instincts, good psychic abilities. And by the way, the studies that they've done, the top people in business across the world were all very creative. That is the Anglo word for psychic. Creativity. Okay. You know what? Get creative. Go and get creative training. Be creative. Do a mantra asking God to access your creativity if you're so hung up on traditional whatever. Why don't you just go for it and say, I need to be more psychic. And I'm not going to be a tarot card reader. I'm not a tarot card reader. I've never read a tarot card in my life. I love it when they do it for me. Not so much anymore. It's kind of fun. But since I realized years ago that the future is elastic and plastic, and you make it with your intention and you screw it up with your subconscious intentions, I don't enjoy it as much. Why do I want somebody to tell me what my future is? I'm supposed to be creating it or recreating it. And if they tell me something awful, it doesn't any longer drive me to drink or to throw myself off a building. I go, I don't want to be there. Okay, I can see how that can happen. And then I have to go and start making decisions or making adjustments. So I'm encouraging you to develop your intuitive knowing, your instincts, your natural psychic abilities. What happens? We're born. All of that is shut down. It's not gone. They say we're opened with our eyes wide open, and we have three, third eye, and then the two eyes. And then our family, the school system, they say, no, you didn't see that. No, that's not the way it is. No, your parents are fine. And you know that your father hates your mother, or that he's having an affair, or that your sister's suicidal. And you tell your parents, I think my sister's kind of like, and they go, she's fine. She's fine. You know she's not fine. So it gets denied, and she looks like she's not fine, and you ask her, and she says, I'm fine, and it's over. No more asking, because obviously you were wrong. Well, you weren't wrong. You weren't wrong. What you saw was not honored because everybody is really, really busy putting a nice face on things that are not so nice. We've really lost our way, and we're living one lie after another lie after another lie. And it's really nice to see when the truth is coming out. Not so much that people pay a consequence, because they're there to create issues so that we wake up. So they're kind of like our masters, the not nice people. But our inner vision, our instincts, our clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, telepathy, all that gets shut down by people that we trust. The teachers, the parents, the adults, because that's what they're supposed to do. And that whole supposed to do thing is really, really, really bad for the planet. And that whole thing with supposed to do has to do with self-esteem. When did our self-esteem get this low? That we have to do what we're supposed to do so that nobody can talk. We need to look at that, but we're not going to look at that right now. Looking at my notes. Several years ago, I got a very large contract. And I said, before I got it, that I was going to spend part of the money, it ended up being like $9,000, to have the Buddhist monks that I work with all the time from the monastery in Atlanta. They have their main monastery in India. And they built a sand mandala. They have this table and they have 4 monks that work from like 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 in the afternoon for 5 or 6 days. You tell them what you're looking for, and they choose a Buddha or a mandala sand painting, and they create it with grains of salt. So when I got the contract, I ordered that done, and it was kind of like neat because it was for Peru. And Peru really needs help with the other dimensions having to do with the ET invasion there. So let's go on to the ET thing. I'm on X and I see all of these people, and this person said this about the ET thing, and this one said that, and we had this video, and then everybody threw the videos away years ago, and now they bring them back out again. Well, you wouldn't have thrown them away years ago if your instincts were operational. You would have been able to look at it and get this feeling of, that doesn't feel right, or that person, ulterior motive for saying that, whatever. So now we have stuff that we looked at and we trashed, and we're pulling it out of the garbage and going, hey, maybe this is true. Well, you should have always been able to discern if it was true or not. Even if you can't see the color of the energy coming out of their mouth when they speak. God made us with all these abilities. These are your abilities in the other dimension. You're honoring the physical dimension too much. Have I already spoken for 28 minutes? Oh my God, I thought this was 2 seconds. So the whole issue of lying is really important today. And that there's a, what do you call them? It's not a quote in the Bible. What's the word? An episode. It's not an episode either. What is it in the Bible? Whatever. Where it says that in the future, which is now, there's going to be something hot, cell phone, and it is going to sear, S-E-A-R, people. And sear is what you do to meat, and our physical body is meat. And then whispering spirits come in and whisper into people's ears lies. Do you already know? I thought I said it enough. Maybe you don't. All those words in your head, most of them are not yours. They're your voice and they're inside your head, but they're not generated by you. They're generated by spirits that are either right here or inside your head. And those spirits do not have good intentions. So you need to have instincts. You need to be able to discern. And some of you people already know this story. I had a big business meeting. I had just gotten a contract with a bank. Of course, the head of the bank didn't know that. Well, the head of the bank was in England. This was a big bank across the world. And oh my God, how did I lose my train of thought? Gone. I can blame somebody else for doing black magic on me right now, but I'm not sure that's the issue. I think I'm just beyond frightened, and it's not easy for me to stay focused. So the whole issue with lies and lying was talked about in the Bible, People don't understand that the words in their head are not accurate in terms of it coming from them. And now I remember what I wanted to tell you. I had just gotten this nice contract, very nice contract, thank you. And I was in my bedroom at home, and I was writing some list of something. And all of a sudden, there's this huge angel comes in the door, the size of the door. I'm not real into angels. I'm dolphin consciousness. Angels, I love them. They're very nice and very sweet. I'm dolphin consciousness. So it's like, okay, now when are we going to have some fun? I'm saying something important. And when I do this, the spirits are trying to stop me. So I'm sitting there, and then I look up, and there's this huge white angel at the door. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd never seen that. And the angel said, take some notes. We want to give you some information. It's great. Hey, this is easy. And it said, okay, so now you're going to go ahead and drop all the work you're doing with people personally. It's not profitable anyway. And you're going to go ahead, and you should be able to get 2 more big contracts. And I went, wait a second. I already decided what I want to do. And that's not what I want to do. I want to work with people. I want to work with millions of people. And the money's not the issue. And so I just stopped, and I sat there, which is what you need to do when somebody starts to give you advice. If they're a spirit, you just wait. Don't say anything, don't do anything. And within a minute or less, the spirit started to melt. The angel started to melt into something black, because it wasn't an angel. It was a bad spirit that wanted to kick me into business and disconnect me from my mission, which is this, what I'm doing. Oh, wow. And I fell for it. My instincts were operational. And I had already found out with another spirit that became my friend, who used to always be changing hats and clothes. And I was like, why is he moving constantly? Because you can't lie in the other dimensions. You can hold something that's not true for a few seconds, half a minute, and then you slip into reality, which is what the angel did. He slipped into the reality. It wasn't an angel, and that he was just trying to pull me out of my path. So my instincts kicked in. That is what needs to happen to you. When the whole internet was big in the 90s and everybody was making supposedly tons of money on the internet, everybody was opening businesses on the internet. I even had a relative, and he was on the cover of some big science magazine because of what he had discovered with and applying it to business. And I'm looking at this, and I'm going, first place, I didn't know anything about it because I'm not technologically inclined. And I was like, this just doesn't feel right. Oh my God, Francis, the problem is you just don't know. But this is like really big. I said, why does it feel empty? It feels empty. Francis, please, come on. This is just not your thing. Okay. When it collapsed, it turned out that it was empty. And everybody said there was nothing there. All this talk, all these articles, all these newspapers, all these interviews, all these companies that set up to do this grandiose business that they were doing on the internet turned out to not be true. But I could feel it. It was like, why does this feel empty? It was empty. It was just lies. You need to reach that point. And you can do it if you make it your intention to open up to you, not to me, to you, to what it is that you can do. Now, if there's a state of emergency, your instincts are going to kick in. If your kid's in trouble, your instincts are going to kick in. You want to ask a question and nobody can answer it? Ask a little kid. Don't do a lot of explaining. Just say, hey, I have to make a decision. What do you think? Chances are what he answers is accurate and what you should be doing. I actually met somebody many years ago, and she was proposing setting up business consulting with little kids. So the companies would hire her company, and she would show up with little kids. And then they would do, what do you call them? Focus groups, whatever, that had nothing to do with kids' products. It was just they wanted to get from the kids their psychic abilities, their information, their wisdom. And I don't know if it ever took off. I met this person at a conference and I thought, that is really way out there. Yeah, it was way out there. Way out there. And that's where you're going to need to be in order to survive. So I'm going to end it now. I'm FRANCESFOX. I'm happy to be here. I hope the outside world relaxes so that it might be a little bit more pleasurable to be doing business and a little bit less frightening to be delivering this information. Because sometimes I hit close to the edge and then I get a little bit concerned that maybe I crossed the line or something. But here I am doing it anyway. And what do my instincts tell me? I'm not going to get taken down. Why? Because intention creates reality. And I have zero intention of getting taken down by my enemies. If I get taken down, it's going to be by my lack of enthusiasm for life. It's not going to be because of the enemies. So what's your intention in business? Or are you so tired, you really don't care? Are you so tired, you just want to keep what you've got and keep it going? Not going to happen. There's an expression in Spanish, and I'll leave you with that. El ojo del amo engorda el caballo. The eye of the owner fattens up the horse. If you are not infusing your company and your employees with something that is uplifting and vitalizing, it's going to be very difficult for you to survive what it is that many of us are anticipating is coming down the pike at us. So continue to join us. And we have all of this on our YouTube channel, FRANCESFOX English. And hopefully they won't shut us down because they really do not like what we do. We can tell. Now the quality of our videos has diminished. Nobody is advised that we're going to have a chat. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. We continue and move into other places as we wait for X to set up the whole video opportunity. And then we don't have to worry. By the way, X, Twitter, when you set that up, remember you have to set it up to where the people that signed up, they get a notification that there is a chat or a meeting set up. Very important. You know what? I'm just thinking now. Hold on. I just looked at the word mandala. So I just got it. For some reason, I was like, okay, if I wanted to spend the money and do another mandala, because I ordered, in terms of me personally, for Venezuela, for Puerto Rico. I think there were 2 done for Peru because I think somebody else who worked with me did one for Peru, and then I did one. And then I did one for all of my families. Each one had one. But if I wanted, like now, where would I do a mandala? San Antonio, Texas, where the 2 eclipses cross. And we are going to do a chat, I think this week, to find out what the heck is going on in San Antonio, Texas, that 2 eclipses would decide, because all catastrophes have consciousness, that they would decide they're going to cross over there. So that's where I would spend the money if I were to do another mandala. Should I do another mandala? I'm not sure the monks are set up because of the plague issue. They had to go back to India, and I'm not sure they have the new contingency, but I think I'm going to find out. Sacred energy. Okay? My name is FRANCESFOX, and thank you for listening.